Hello and welcome to another episode of Getting into Good Oxide. Welcome back, Sydney.
Hello.
On Monday, I think we were busy implementing this, and I believe every second word was in the realm of let's make this better, because even though it's kind of the right thing to do, we took a while to kind of get to that, always thinking it should be easier. And we are also competing with something like that, peel to commit. So literally one line kind of when you are using Git2. And I think the verdict here is we should have something like it. Maybe even that, because it's usually what you want. You have a ref and you want to peel that to the commit, because that's your entry point and it's always commits, and that's what matters. And those who have different needs, they can use this because you have some ID and then you can, do something else with it, even though most of the time, you just decode the object and see what it is, like we do here. But that's just too complicated to do all the time. And we do it like Git, I suppose. So it's an error if there is no commit. So if the object pointed to by the ref is not actually a commit in the end, at the end of that chain, which is possible, but it's not typical. So
Yeah.
no.
I think there was one other thing that we kind of discussed, but I think you said you want to keep it, was the trying to commit, right? That this is kind of a bit unconventional maybe.
Right.
But I think you said you like that style for now at least. So I guess we can just take this entire thing and wrap it into the peel to commit.
You are right. There were two issues that came up. It was also this, that the error message is terrible because it does the right thing, kind of, but it's unexpected. It's because this is consuming here. And as a consuming thing, you should return the original if you don't manage, if you're not a commit, so that you don't lose it. But then again, those who want to try to get a commit, like how do you actually use this? It's I'm still torn somehow. Last time I talked myself into thinking this should be a hard error, but now I feel more like this is kind of correct, even though it's a bit surprising if you try to use question mark on it without checking exactly that this is not the error, that this is just the original type of self. Because then it's lost, the object. But if you don't know what it is that is there, then you usually do use a different thing anyway. You can use self kind, you can match on that.
Exactly.
And just do it differently to get the object of the right kind. And we also can do into commit. That's usually what you do if you know what you're having. But that's panicking here. And this is why we didn't use this in the first place. This is why we use try. So this is what most people use when they know. And this is the alternative.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense though, because you say, you could change this, right? You would say this is either a commit or it's something else. And then it definitely makes sense to say, okay, trying to commit and then trying to something else afterwards. And otherwise you wouldn't have that opportunity. Yeah, you'd have to check the kind beforehand, and then you would know anyway, and you wouldn't use try. So
yes,
yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Kind of makes
unexpected, I guess, with the question mark.
It kind of makes sense to make it an error, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like instead of returning the object here, make this an error. Or make this an option altogether and make it consuming, so that you save this. So something like that, because having an error that is really wanted a commit, but I was a tree, or I was this. This is what the error could carry. This is the information we have. And maybe that's something we should have. Then you don't lose everything. You at least have something that is that helps you debugging. But that, I mean, oh yeah, look at this. This is try into. So we have implementations. We have implementations of try from, which is exactly what we see here. See, that's what's actually being called. So people who want that kind of behavior, they can still have it. They can still use try from directly. Which also means that maybe we should indeed make this a real error here. Oh, apparently I am. Yes, I'm not seeing my local version here. Even though I thought that is what I'm getting. Let's compile this. IntelliJ doesn't seem to get it because it did compile my local version, I thought. Fair enough. We can open up GitOxide separately. Okay, so 2 things to do, I think. Turn this into an error. And then make this other, then have something like into peel to commit or something like that.
Yeah.
And this seems to be the easiest thing to do, even though nothing is really easy if you really pay attention and like ask yourself all kinds of questions, and everything takes a bit longer, but we will try to do that. Ask all the questions that need to be asked. Okay, first of all, how does that error look like? I guess it's time to really open up GitOxide here. Try into commit. And look, that's actually nice to see that the naming scheme is the same everywhere, apparently. So try into commit is the same for Git object. It's an easy object. It's in Git object data. So at least the naming scheme is similar everywhere. It's the same. That's good to see. I think that doesn't always happen.
And the implementation, they're doing the same trick.
Oh, good point. Let's see. This is here. It does the same. But I could say that I could claim at least that this is a plumbing crate. So I think this just has to do it like you would expect. Try to avoid any complexity. Just, let the user handle it. So here, maximum ergonomics, best ergonomics, that's not necessary. But I think here it is. Because we saw it as applications developers, even we were puzzled. And I shouldn't be. I, of all people, should not be. And I'm okay being puzzled using a plumbing crate, a low-level crate, but here I should not. So it must be error. So let's just do that. I think this is now the right project here. This GitOxide, yeah. How to call the error? Where to put the error? We are in easy object mod. Let's get a little help. Let's get a listing. Let's get a listing of all the modules that we have here. I recently created a little hacked version of Git modules, and you can give it a package. Cargo modules, and you can give it a package that. Okay. Yeah, it was like this generate tree was really, yeah. And now Git repository. And it takes its time, but eventually it gives you this. And now we can more easily see how the use path look like. So Git repository easy. We are an object, easy objects. And that's an object. And now we can think of how would the error look like? Easy object, convert error maybe. Easy object try into error maybe.
I guess that's the most descriptive one, right? Yeah.
Try into error, huh? Yeah. So like this. And then we call our normal try into. And then map this. You know, we have kind here. And now we use this data that we have for the error itself and don't degenerate everything. We can enrich this error with whatever information we want. Could even give the hash, why not? That really helps debugging, and I think then it has value, what we're doing here. Then we drop only the data, essentially. Because we remember that this easy object is essentially ID plus kind plus data. And we drop data. So that seems a fair compromise. Okay. And now I work backwards, right? Even though IntelliJ won't be helping me with this. So try into error. Yeah, it's also a bit overkill that this is an enumeration, I think, by default. Even though we have only one member. But maybe we can use it to our advantage. Try into error. Type mismatch, maybe. Kind mismatch. Invalid kind. Try into error. Yeah, doesn't need anything other than that to try into error. It's already kind of fully specified what we are seeing here.
It is. I mean, the invalid kind drives it home. If it's necessary is the question.
Yeah. Try into error. Yeah, naming is hard, right? Unexpected kind. Okay, let's go with this for now.
Yeah.
And then we have the kind. And we have the ID. Okay. So now, yeah, it's so hard to see, to have an overview here. Let's fold it all. Just to see where the module should be. You know, I'm not super tidy when it comes to this. I just refactor a bunch of times as I go there again and again. But it's harder to know where to put things in this presentation mode where you're just with the zoom lens and everything. But folding to the rescue here. Pub mod, it needs to be pub because people need to be able to see the error and use it. Pub mod, try into. And now we put the error type in. I think here is this error land. This error like this. Let's just copy some example. Returned by RS conversion methods in easy object starting with try. Something like that. I think, yeah, like this it looks. Some decent looking documentation. Use super. Or let's go from the crate. Let's use crate easy. Does it have object? Yes, it does. Okay. And then if you can't remember the name you just chose, it's a bad name, but it was unexpected kind. That was tough. Kind, it's a git object kind. And we have the ID with it, which is a git hash object ID. Okay. Object named, I think I can do this here. ID was supposed to be a, oh yeah, sorry, it was actual and expected, huh? Actual kind, expected kind. And now we are talking, was supposed to be an expected kind be of kind, but was kind, actual kind. Okay, that could work. And these, of course, they go away. Okay. And you see, maybe one thing I can point out here is that even though applications are encouraged to do something like stat does, stats, where we do this, so that we have a nice import path. Within Git repository, we always use the actual names of the crate. We don't go through some fake top level thing. We don't go through, we could also do this. We could also do create object. It's that objects or something. Yeah, anyway, it's there in theory. But we also don't do that because that might change, whereas this is fixed. This is why it's just more stable. It makes clearer what that actually is, so we don't have to deal with another name or something like that. So
yeah, exactly. That gets confusing quickly, as we've seen.
Yes.
I think first episode of vergen.
Yeah, actual kind and expected kind was a commit. Git object kind commit. Can even hardcode that here. So we expect that we can do the same for tree. Unfortunately, that's the only conversions we have right now because it's not even complete yet. We would need tag at some point, for example, but there was no use yet. Okay. So again, that's a bit copy pasty, huh? That's kind of that's the time when you want to have a little macro. But I dislike macros enough to not do that. I'd rather copy this.
Good enough to copy and paste.
Yeah, it's okay. Doesn't like it because we need to change the return type. Okay, which branch am I on? Name, that's good. Then in theory, that still works. Let's compile. It's on the other screen. So far, so good. No, failed.
Well, the expected kind is still the wrong one though.
Copy paste error. You are right. That's the most dangerous ones. It's so easy. Just copy paste. Thank you. Peer review, instant peer review. Actually, pair programming. The benefits of it for sure. Besides the fact that you usually come up with better ideas because, yeah, two brains, thrice the power. So there was this error here. Oh, that's working now. I'm actually supposed to use this IDE and maybe dock this. Okay. Maybe this. Is this better? Yes, no dot here. Okay. Oh, look. I'm already doing something like that. It's here. Okay.
Oh.
So now that's not an object anymore. That's a try easy object. It's also always a good test. Can you remember the path to the thing? It's an easy object, try into error, unexpected kind, and we have actual kind and expected kind, and we can just use them. And this kind of unexpected kind, then actual kind, expected kind is kind of a duplication there, huh? I mean, the kind. I like this more.
Mm-hmm.
So I would actually change that. And this we,
agreed.
This we ignore. Great. See, it's always good also to double check certain decisions. So yeah, thank you, really helpful. So IntelliJ should be able to do this because it's just a structure, just a normal struct with a bunch of attributes, but it doesn't have to care about them. So that should actually be exactly.
Oh, you have to change the error message. It still uses the old variable.
Good catch. Yeah, you've got the benefit of not seeing the video overlay because that actually hides that pretty well. I've got a blind spot. All right. I have the same thing here, so that's definitely boilerplate. And this, what happened here?
Do you actually have to match here?
Well, matching is the only thing that allows you to now access what's in the variant, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And we are lucky that it's a single variant only, because otherwise this would not be exhaustive anymore and we would have to do more. So now in this context here, easy object, try into error, unexpected kind, it's relatively like it's very it's telling you in your face what the problem is. Maybe to the point where it's a bit too much, but also not bad. I don't dislike it. I kind of like it.
I mean, maybe it feels a bit much because we only have that one variant, but if that grows, I think this is, like you said, very explicit.
I think it won't grow. It shouldn't grow. It's really just for that. I would expect it not to grow anyway, because we know it's only in that particular specific spot. And we need a variant here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we can probably quickly try this. Maybe it supports structs. Maybe. So now let's fix this. It's just a conversion now, right? It's literally, yeah. Oh, by the way, here, unexpected kind and error object kind. So now we also have two different names for the same thing. And this is it's an easy object commit error. So we have just one error for all kinds of things that can go wrong while obtaining, while doing things here on the commit itself. So that might be a bit, that probably will change at some point. Also here, object kind, it's an object kind error. I like unexpected kind more here. So yeah, even though it's more wordy, it's longer, huh? So unexpected object kind. Yeah, I like a mix of both. Unexpected object kind I like most. Then it's really obvious.
I mean, in the context of objects, if you write unexpected kind, it's pretty clear anyway, right?
Yeah, probably. But there can also be hashes that have a kind, but they're usually not. It's just there's multiple kinds, probably just two actually, hash and object, and Unexpected kind. Okay, but it's a decision to be made now because this doesn't have to be different, I think. It can be the same. Let's try to compile first and then figure out the naming. And yeah, I think it doesn't. I think this error is actually able to do this. You can put it on a struct, can you? Let's see if there's an example with a struct here. Yes. And then you have a message and source. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know where you define the display message here. I think you have to make the message a string then, which is kind of not what I want, you know, I don't want an own string here that I have to allocate for. I wanted to generate this on the fly based on the fields. Maybe this is just not such a great example. Let's see what happens if we put this in. Does it work then? It can't, because it must somehow know how to print this, right? So we must put this somewhere. Let's see if I can just do it in the most naive way possible, because then we have an alternative. I think that did work. It didn't.
Seems like it.
Or why does it need type annotations? Oh, yeah, right. Oof. Now apparently Rust is, oh yeah, Rust doesn't know what this is. So this is self. Maybe. Is this the problem? Yes, that was the problem. Okay. Whew. That was close. And that actually works here. That's cool. So we can use that instead then, huh? We can use this error. And then we don't have a naming problem anymore. That's one way to solve it, but I think it's a better way even. Yep. And you see I can match on the struct without problems, and I want that too. But now we know it's going to work forever, because that is not an enum with a single variant anymore. And I must leave it. I must leave it to this error, right? I mean, I literally did what I thought was the most naive thing possible, and it worked. And that deserves an honorable mention. That's a medal, actually. Having it in an API this good is awesome. Yeah. Okay. Pop, pop, pop. And we're getting there. Right. And done. That was easy. Cool. So kind of that's the biggest compile unit I have. That's compiling everything all together, or checking it at least, so that works now. Then let's run the tests. Maybe some tests use these conversions somewhere and rely on the previous behavior. I don't think so, but let's check. Great. Okay. I think I do have an issue number for this. So I wanted to look here. Vergen 298. So that I've got fodder for cargo smart release. That easy object try into. Return a real error. Or return, that's a bit more explicit, try into error. That's a feature, I guess, it's breaking. So that will then show up in the changelog. I should put a period here, that's the most annoying thing, because then it looks better, but I think, let's not do this. I have to improve Cargo Smart Release to deal with this case better, because right now I have to kind of go in to the markdown and then put a period here and put an extra new line here, because it also kind of removes this. But I can do it. I just didn't feel, it wasn't annoying enough yet. But that's already good. It will show up in the changelog and will not be forgotten. That way, the, how do you call it?
The usage, or?
Yeah, there's a better way to describe that. What kind of usage? Not naive, but the expected, typical.
Yeah.
Kind of the, you know, typical, whatever. The typical.
It's not conventional. Yeah, typical is pretty good.
The conventional, the typical usage of try into commit will not result in a strange error about object not being convertible into some error. We think having a real error there is the least surprising. Yeah, and you can still do your conversions. If you have to do it differently, you can do it. Okay. All right, that's refactor number 1. 298, then let's go back to vergen. Does that compile?
Not.
Yes.
Sometimes.
It should, because we just do okay here.
Oh yeah.
And we do this so that we have our own error message. And we could now say, okay, who cares? Can do this. And now we have the same thing. We already shortened this a little bit. And now for the full shortening, it's basically getting rid of this error message here and putting something new onto head, but also onto reference. Yeah, so that's a bit more, it's kind of a little bit tricky, let's say. Because here we have a head, and a head is this, an easy head. And a head is not a ref anymore. I mean, it's an object that is potentially a reference if it's a symbolic, if there's a symbolic reference inside, but it could also be in plenty of other states, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this means, since it really needs its own type, if you wanted to do something like head appeal to commit, and we have to implement that on the reference itself. Like we can do into referent here, which panics even if there is nothing. So it's, I was thinking, if you would have a safe way to do this, we could just implement it on here. We could just say here into referent, then appeal to commit or something. But there is no safe way of doing this, because that's a head and it's not the same. So I think we have to do it in two places. For now, only on the head. And I guess that's fine. So fold it in. That's about peeling here.
But so just one question. I mean, isn't there only one possibility of when the head can actually peel to a commit, and that's when it's actually a reference, like when it's a symbolic reference? Otherwise, this would never work anyway, right? So maybe
it would.
Like my thought is maybe we can implement it. It would.
Yes, because there's another case. Remember, head can also already be in a peeled state. Sorry, detached. And if you are detached, then you know a target. And that target you can look up, and then you peel it, and then you probably have a commit too.
I see. Okay.
And you might already have looked it up, right? Then you have this set and peeled, but that's just... that's not interesting. So the only case where we don't point to an object at all, which is when we are unborn. And whatever object we point to in the other cases may or may not be a commit, but yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I guess really what's left is to do this. We return, yeah, it's pretty much the same. And we can decide what to do here. I just copy, oh, okay. Let's use the other IDE. Do we have peel, and now we have easy head. Okay. Here we are. Yeah, let's fold it in. I actually like that. Yeah, it's probably one of the most valuable hotkeys that I kind of have in my muscle memory by now for the folding, because that, yeah, it helps incredibly. I think it's just 4 in total, and it's basically just plus and minus, and then fold and unfold, and different variations. Maybe it's 8, but it's just so worth it, these things. Yeah, I think that was a nice one. That is kind of short, so we can just copy this. Peel to commit. All right. Look at this here. It's either consuming or it's mutating in place. So I think we have to call it then peel to commit in place, because that's the only thing we can do. Unless we want to clone ourselves just to avoid that, but I don't want to do that because I think it's okay to consume or to mutate, you know. Or we consume entirely. That's also possible. So that's the question you're faced with when designing this API. What do people usually want? And can you have both? Can you have the mutation, the mutating version? And can you have the consuming version? Because they kind of act a little bit differently. Especially when you don't care so much then about the head itself, you care only about what you get out of it. Then having a consuming version of that is not the worst thing, especially for us. And right now we optimize for this case, so to say. Where's vergen? Here. So we optimize for this. How would that look like? Head into peeled commit. That's how it could look like. And then you do this. And then you lose the head, but you don't care because we don't use it later ever again. So that would work here.
In this case, yeah, but we have used it a bit further up though. So there is a reuse of the head.
Really? I mean, up here it's used, but here we consume it. And we only use it one. I mean, when, oh, wait. we might go through that multiple times, don't we? No, the
Maybe.
commit, no, we don't. It's just the commit and we might shorten it. So it's okay here to consume. We only use it once, but we might use it again later. This is what you meant, huh? That.
Yeah, I mean, you never know, but
yeah, for other keys. So I think it's okay then to make the more versatile version ones at first peel to commit. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a different name. And that will just, it can do it in place. Peel to commit in place. I feel obliged to say in place here. Because I think this is not in place, see? So that isn't taking a borrow. And look how this is implemented, right? So there's just a generic peel, and that says, okay, peel to that particular object type. And that's, of course, even more flexible. So maybe this is then the way to go eternally, potentially. Because I thought I implemented something like that already somewhere, but yeah. Okay, let me just check. Why don't I find this? Peel. Yeah, it's not there. It's not there. Tried that already. Okay. So it's gonna be this. Has to be, I guess. So it's a bit longer, a bit less nice, and we need to mutate the head, which is fair because it really changes self and puts the detached peeled version of itself. It puts that in here. Or does it? Yeah, it changes itself. Yeah, it changes its own kind to You know what? I think I found a bug. Because look, if it's unborn, we can't do anything. That's fair. If it's detached, like if it's genuinely detached, okay, I probably, if code confuses you like this, then maybe it's code you want to change. I'm just thinking, do we turn ourselves into a detached state? No, we don't. That was my fear, that we are in a normal symbolic state and then we detach ourselves, but we don't do that. So if you're symbolic, we apparently have to clone the handle or the ref that is inside. We attach a handle and then we peel that. And then we store that. So we store that then peeled reference, because you follow symbolic references, right? So that last reference that you saw, you store that here, and then you return whatever object was at the end, which was also followed. So the tags are followed. So that's what happens here, and that's why it's in place, and it's kind of important to highlight that. Yeah, okay. I think it's not a bug. I think we can just use that. And I also think that commits, they're always the end of a chain. So we don't need any special treatment. If we try to peel it to the end, that end is naturally a commit or some other terminal object, because only tags can really be pointing at another object. Tag, 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 and then the last object that it points to that is not a tag is always terminal. So I think it's okay to implement this in a naive way, so to say. Just say, what happened here? Ah, it was folded. This is why it looked so small, but it's not actually. So we peel to ID in place. And then, oh yeah, then what do we do? So I think before we do that, the question is, do we want to go with option result? And the option represents the bornness of the head or not? Because git2 does not, right? Git2 just ignores that.
Yeah, it's a question if that would be useful information for the user, one level above essentially. But I guess if you want to commit, you want to commit, and if you don't get it, then you don't get it. So maybe.
That's right. I think so too. I think that's it. That's a great explanation. So this already tells what you want. And the same logic though, would it not apply to this too? Into fully peeled ID. I want an ID, and if I can't get it, it's an error.
True, but I mean, yeah. It kind of feels like a layer below, like a bit more in depth, and then you maybe want that flexibility. But this is really the most easy to use API here, so that's why maybe there we can make a distinction.
I agree. I was thinking, okay, maybe we can turn this into the above, so skip the option. But what would the user do that actually wants to know about bornness, right? Like, what would they do? Would they still be able to use something like that? And the answer is no. Then they have to write this in order to get information about whether they are born or not. And Git repository, I think it shouldn't hide. It should hide some things, but this, it shouldn't hide. I think it's fair to say those who use this, they will go the extra mile, so to say, and do what we do here themselves, like turning it into a commit and so on. But those who use this method, which is most of the people, they should have the easy version, and they don't care about that case that it might be unborn. And if it is unborn, we can always put a nice message here. For now, we don't care about error messages so much, and just go with the default, so to say. So I think it's good. It's good to do it like this. This means here we have an OK or else. Now we have to upgrade that none into an error. And then and I think then this is already what it should be supposed to be. Because here we get an option, upgrade that into an error out of it, and what's remaining is this. And that's exactly what we need. So now just the question, what kind of error could this be? Peel reference, find existing object. And that's now object kind. We want, no wait, not object kind. It's unborn. Yeah, it's the unborn case, sorry.
This is the unborn one, yeah.
Yeah, object kind comes later. Right, we still have to convert this into a commit here. So still more stuff to happen. This makes me, this error here. Ugh. Like whenever you have one error for multiple methods, you're basically by default, you're going to be feeling the pain because you don't use all of the errors all the time, and you kind of want to split that up into what matters, and you can, right? You can just make a module with the same name of the method, and then you put what you want in there, and just some boilerplate that you didn't have to live with. I can just add this here and just say, okay, whatever. But I think ultimately that has to be cleaned up. Okay, so that would be unborn. Unborn head or something. Your current branch main does not have any commits yet. I wanted to see what Git says in this case, because I think for a while it used the term unborn, and probably that confused a lot of people, and now they say more easily what it is. So maybe we should do the same then, instead of doing some talking about unborn. We talk about no commits. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Peel to commit in place. See, most of the time we spent thinking about API names.
Name stuff.
And the implementation is trivial in this case.
And yeah, I mean, but for this, honestly, like just saying something like the branch doesn't have any commits yet, when you're trying to get the first commit is very fitting, I guess. In other places, I'm not so sure if we can reuse that.
Yeah.
Like the unborn might be easier.
I mean, first of all, I think I should just do what every decent person would do and copy paste this whole thing and make an own error type for this. Error. What's going on? Peel to commit. And then we don't get the error there. So we have one general error and then more specific errors. How returned by head. Peel to commit in place. I don't put the in place here because I think it doesn't matter for errors ever, whether you mutate something or not. And then it's a bit more general and a bit less wordy, and I like that. Peel to commit in place. Okay. And then we have an error that is just for peeling. Peeling failed. And that's super error. And then we have all the errors that we actually need. In this case, it's unborn. So did you say unborn or did you say something else or no commit? Like what's this now? Is it? I would call it unborn because we have kind unborn. We can still give it a display message that is better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we can even use the name branch. I want to copy paste this because I don't want to get sued. The current branch main does not have any commits. Branch name does
have any commits.
Not have any commits. That's creative. So now we know what we want here, which is basically what's in kind unborn. It's the name. What's the name? It's a git-ref full name. Okay. Git-ref full name. Yeah, let's call it name. Oh. What's going on? Lim Fu. I swear, I typed the right stuff. It's not me. Name like this. Yeah, that should work. I'm a bit surprised it doesn't automatically format things. Probably there's some syntax error somewhere else. Didn't compile yet. Should probably close this. Oh yeah, there's the syntax error. Good. Oh yeah, it's appeal to commit error unborn with the name being. Yeah, great. How do I get my own name? Do I have something nice there? Self. How does that work? It's the, oh yeah. Yeah, I have to clone it anyway. So that would be the way to go. Referent name, self, referent name. And I expect one to be present because we know we are unborn, so we have a name. We are unborn. And then I can convert this into a full name. And that's how we get to a point where we have this type. Now we just convert the ID, the OID into, yeah, probably into a commit object, huh?
Oh.
So also that is easy. Just want to check vergen to commit. Oh. Peel to commit. What would GiG-15 do? And they do the same thing. They return an object. So look how close we are to what GiG-15 does. And how, you know, there's lots of abstraction layers between that to make it actually work like this. So it's, you know, once you've built it up, you can only nod your head for what GiG-15 has achieved. Also because libgit2 that they wrap is not at all like this. There's already like miles ahead. It's incredible. So it's really, really good. Peel to commit in place. We're already doing that. Let's make this happy. Yeah, I can't edit here. I have to go back to the actual project. And now we make this an easy commit, and it's there. So I like the module layout. It works. And now it tells me that I want to map the ID. Actually, I want an and then because this can fail. Because now I say ID object. And that gives me an ODB error. And I have to convert that into this error for this to work. So find existing ODB error. So map error. Actually, this is more correct here. So just do this explicitly here. And later we can try something like into, but I usually don't trust type inference too much somehow. At least initially, let's just do it like this. And then we have find object. Find object error, I think. Find existing object. We have it already here. That's exactly that. And you see already the problem here. We already have that error. So peel can represent an error finding an object in the object database. So we can just use this instead of having another one. Oh, all good, all good. So now definitely we have to do it by hand. Error. So that's a peel error. And then we have an error find existing object error. Okay. It still does not like it. Even though I think it should. Let's see, let's compile. So the error type seems to be mismatched. That's a bit strange. head peel error, peel to commit error. Okay. I'm not getting it right now because this and then is supposed to return a result of the right type. And we map the error. Maybe, let's just go all the way because we are definitely lacking the, lacking the mapping of the object itself. Because now we have an object. And we want to say object try into commit. Now we have a nice error for this, so this should work better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also an and then. Because we convert the whole result from an, actually I don't like to see ODB error here. See, so now it's better. Now it's happier. It's really, the problem is really that we didn't map the actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we map the error again into. Now I would trust it because it's kind of at the end of the chain here. And it's trivial. And now it tells me that a conversion is not implemented from try into error to peel to commit error, which makes sense because we did not actually implement that. So now, just another case here. We make it transparent as well, so we don't have to make up some new display message. But once you know that this is a typical thing, then you want to just set a nice display message here to have an error chain, because then this tells you more about the context, like what did we try to do while our commit conversion happened. And this is, going the extra mile. But also it means you have to think about wording again and think about what this really is. And that's hard, so we don't do that, of course. We don't go the extra mile here. We just go an extra kilometer, which definitely is less than a mile, so that's kind of fair. Still a lot. So it's very good enough for now. For the first iteration, right? We go many steps. We take many steps. So name. Conversion, right? Try into object kind. We have that already. We call it object kind in one place, I think. And it's an easy object try into error. And I could still remember that. So it's probably a good place for it to be. It kind of, you can just follow it. Yeah, you just stay, probably. Maybe this changes name at some point, maybe, but for now it's good. Okay, does that work? Phew, okay. Getting there. We map the error, then we try to get a commit out of it and map the error. And now we are back to the original error. Okay. So I think this can be done with name as bstring, maybe. So display seems to be not implemented for full name. This is why you have to do that. This might also be an opportunity, like should full name implement display, right? I think it should. Then you can do these kind of things naturally and just display that full name, and you don't have to go through the internal binary string that is in there. So that should be really trivial and easy to do. I think there is a mod full name here, where you can just put that in. Just put it at the end of the file somewhere, maybe here. So that's needed for that, for full name. Okay. And then we format with the internal B string. So we say fmt. Oh no. Always a bit confusing. And we say self 0 fmt f. So we just forward this to the internal display implementation.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay, yeah.
And now that I think about it, can't that be auto-implemented? I think it can. I've never done it, I think. I see it also doesn't know it, because usually like these forwardings, they can be auto-implemented, but it's not, I think you can't do it. Can you? No, I can't. See, this is why I'm so naturally doing this myself, but in fact, that, you know, future Rust version probably can do that, because obviously you can in this particular case. Okay. Okay, so disambiguate. Oh yeah, right, we have multiple FMTs here. Look at that. So FMT is implemented on two traits. It's implemented on the display trait and it's implemented on the debug trait. So which one are you calling now? And it tells you disambiguate by using this kind of style, and this is Rust for you. The Rust compiler is generally very helpful and PAL with you. So you just copy paste and you're done. See? And now we are kind of getting back to where we originally were, except for now we can write this like before. And this is the kind of thing you probably run into as you do these conversions. There's little bits and pieces everywhere to be improved.
Yeah.
And that's natural. It's going to be less over time. But
you have to make your way through it at least once.
You will have to do that, yes. So now what about this? This worries me a bit because I kind of don't get it. And I want to get done. It's already a long session here. Probably should have cut that short. But now it's too late. So expected enum had peel error, but found peel to commit error. And this is where? This is here. So here it wants a different error type than we have. Even though we already converted, that's what I don't get. Oh, we don't. Oh, okay. Yeah, now I get it. So here, map error into. Is it smart enough? Yes, it is. Oh my God. So you see, what we got is this. We got a peel error or something. And that was still in here because this question mark just errors out of the option that we have raised to a result.
Yes.
And now we tell it, we actually want, now inference is kind of awesome because it manages to infer that we want this, even though it's somewhere in the middle of the chain. And I think this works because here we once again set the type to something explicit. And we have to because of that nesting. And here into works again because we've set the error type already. We've set that up. And that's that. And you always wonder, maybe, can we error out earlier and is it going to be easier then? And then doing these chains. And the answer usually is yes. Really. Yes. Because this map error into it's essentially, yeah, give me an ID and error out of there, right? And now we have the ID here. Now we have this outside, see? And
Yeah.
that's the refactoring, and that's okay, right? It's better. It's a bit less nested because each nesting level adds a mental burden that is so high. Like, what type is in there? What do you have to do? And all you kind of can do is just do everything as much as you can. That's how I do it. And hope you don't forget one of these intermediate into whatever. And then you might just get it right, or right enough so that you actually understand what's going on. Okay, but anyway,
Or the compiler tells you.
Or the compiler tells you well enough so that you understand. And the compiler usually tells you well enough, but still you might not understand it because it's kind of complex type and blah, blah, blah. So now there's just documentation missing. Isn't that nice? Okay. Peel, what can we copy paste something here? Consume this instance. No, that's not the right one. Here. Yeah, to do tests, I concur. Let's just copy paste and adjust. Follow the symbolic reference of this head until its target object and peel it by following tag objects until, damn it, copy paste. You copy paste errors too. Until oh, did I get it wrong? Until its target object and peel it by following tag objects until there is no more object to follow, and return that transform the ID. Nobody's ever going to use this method if they have to read this documentation. Transform the ID into a commit if possible and return that. Return none, return an error if the head is unborn, or if there are, or if it doesn't point to a commit something. Yeah, that's not necessarily great documentation, but I think it's very, very descriptive to the point of explaining the code here or something. But yeah, better than, I guess it's already kind of good to have that, but I'm not super happy with the wording. But it's okay, it compiles. Look at that. Okay, now we can go
Amazing.
back. Yeah. I think every episode I say that was easy. I should buy one of these buttons. That's worth it. Automate. That was easy. Because of course it's not ever easy. And that's it. That works. And with that, I think we can call that a day. I will make the commit off camera because it's already long enough. And with that, I say thanks for those who are still here, and thank you, Sydney.
Thank you, Sebastian. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.